Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Tech shopping heaven is on the horizon. I'm curious, what are your Black Friday, Cyber Monday and holiday season must-haves? I'm in the market for some noise-cancelling earphones for when I'm flying to an event, and I'm kind of caught at the moment between the Boss C35s and the Sony 1000 XM3 or something like that. They seem to be the best ones out there. If anyone out there has got both or tried both, I'd love to hear your opinions and what you think's better. And I also want to hear about your must-tech haves this year. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. But enough of this consumerism talk. We got a show to do. And Itron is a publicly traded smart technology company that's enabling utilities and cities to safely and securely and reliably deliver critical infrastructure services to communities in more than 100 countries. And they also recently held its inaugural Smart City Challenge, a competition that brought together the cities of London and Glasgow and tech startups to solve difficult city challenges. And I absolutely love stories like this. So I wanted to find out more about the kind of challenges that they were solving and how they solved them with technology. So enough from me. Let's get them on the show to find out more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Of course. Hello, my name is Itron, and I am the head of the Smart Cities activities at Itron. And I'm based in San Jose, California.
Fantastic. And Itron is a publicly traded smart technology company that's enabling utilities and cities to safely, securely, and most importantly, reliably deliver critical infrastructure services to communities in over 100 countries. But can you expand on that and tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems that you're looking to solve with technology?
Absolutely. So, at Itron, we've been serving utilities and cities for about 4 decades now, and in, as you said, over 100 countries, so really a global operation, and we are about 8,000 employees and all passionate about what we're doing, and it's extremely important because we are a company that develops technology and a lot of innovation, but the where we deploy this technology and what it's going to be used for is even more important than the innovation itself. It's all about sustainability. It's all about making a positive impact in the communities that we live in and in communities around the world. We help utilities and cities drastically improve the services that they provide to the communities, leveraging our technology and services.
So can I ask that you tell me a little bit more about the Smart City Challenge that I've been reading so much about recently? Because it does sound incredibly intriguing.
It is, the smart cities for many people means many different things. And for a reason, it's a very vast domain. It's a domain that encompasses education and healthcare and e-governance and transportation and urban infrastructure and safety of the communities and digital services. But at the end of the day, every city is very different. And we pride ourselves at Itron to have one of the most rich and vibrant ecosystems of partners that help us create a very, very vast portfolio of products to serve those communities. And what we see is that even when you have such a wide portfolio, every city is very different. And it's not just about taking solution X and Y and building it together and delivering it to a city, but really, as we started to listen and talk to different cities around the world, especially cities that were already working with us, leveraging our infrastructure, IoT infrastructure and smart streetlight solution, they had very specific problems that typically the industry would have not thought about. And reaching out and creating solutions, not again for the sake of technology, but really to solve very specific solutions for those cities was the objective of this challenge. And we started with our first edition last year, and with that we did in Europe. And we are going to soon launch our second edition of our Smart Cities Challenge in North America. And again, it's really about finding out and creating an ecosystem around the cities for the cities, and as we did with Glasgow and London in this edition.
And I'm glad you mentioned Glasgow there. I think they've just been announced the cultural capital here in the UK as well. But one of the things that stood out there was, I think it was a company called Koya Digital utilised IoT and artificial intelligence to monitor, predict and influence the flow of large groups of people that were travelling through these urban environments. So can you expand on that for people that have not seen them?
Sure, but I want to touch first on the reason we selected Glasgow, and part of the reasons is what you mentioned. It is a capital of culture in Europe. The amount of, whether it's cultural or sports events in that city, is growing year over year, and so is the number of people coming to watch and participate in those events. And this is obviously great for the city, and they want to do it more and more, but they want it to happen in a way that will create an amazing experience, both for the people that come to those events from outside the city and for the communities that live in those areas in the city during those events. And really the city was looking for, okay, what kind of technologies are going to help it solve this challenge that is a multidimensional challenge, actually. It's not just around transportation and infrastructure, but also around noise and a movement of people and safety. And we were very lucky to have a set of companies with a lot of innovation participate in this challenge for the city of Glasgow, and Koya is one of them, leveraging their AI technology and IoT technology. And again, it was really about understanding the hyperlocal information of what is happening at each moment in real time in every different place in the city. And creating that hyperlocal data allows the city to actually react accordingly, whether it's managing the traffic and diverting traffic effectively in real time, and doing that dynamically, not just by some kind of rule book as it may be in other places. So all these technologies that were presented during the challenge to the city of Glasgow allowed them to understand and open their eyes into many other ways of trying to go about solving these problems. And eventually they've selected a company called Noasis that was especially innovative in their thinking around how to use the noise and the ambient noise information from those streets using very sensitive military-grade sensors to detect automatically events such as car accidents or maybe social cahoots or fast people picking up a fight or things like that, and react very fast by adding light, for example, and making the area more secure and more exposed. So typically, people would actually avoid getting into antisocial behavior when this happens. So it's a very interesting set of events, and now we're actually working hand in hand with the city of Glasgow to understand how we're going to move to the next phase, which is to actually deploy some of these, a combination of these technologies in the city.
Really is an exciting space. And one of the things that I love when I was reading about everything that you were doing here is some areas that tech was solving real problems for emergency crews I'd not even thought of. For example, I think it was over in London. It was a company called TerraGo Technologies, and they created this on-demand searchlighting for authorised emergency personnel. But elsewhere, Unique ID created connected life buoys to actually detect emergency or misuse and blinking public lights to help coastal guards. There's so much I could go into here, but what did you feel was the stars of the show in London?
Yes, again, another great example of a lot of innovation. We had Unique ID, we had TerraGo, and innovation technologies, and for all from different countries around the world, which is even adding another level of excitement here. It is quite incredible the partnership that we've had with TerraGo over the years, and now we announced the integration of some of their products into our offering to every city, and we name it SolvIng Go to refer to their installation and maintenance modules from TerraGo together with our SLV platform. TerraGo brought again, something very interesting, a twist, which is not necessarily to bring new types of sensors or anything extra, but they said you already have an infrastructure of smart streetlights around the city, and emergency crews could connect to those streetlights where they need to add lights to specifically, for example, find someone that fell into the Thames, or to help them pave the way, or to secure an area, and basically create that local level of communication between emergency forces and the system of the streetlights, the public streetlights in the city, and that added created a lot of interest for the city as well, of course.
And it did seem to me from the outside looking in, there's this key theme across both events there, that it was all about using technology to solve real problems and actually make a difference. And something we do see often a lot, of course, is technology searching for a problem rather than the other way around. And that seemed to be completely what you were trying to do here. But was that your intention right from the beginning?
Absolutely. And when we engaged the cities to ask them if they would participate in something that would go to create that objective, they were so enthusiastic and excited to join, because it was really all about them. It wasn't even about the technology. It was really about the community and the city. And I think it's a guiding star now for us that we understood. And when we first talk and engage in discussions with the cities we work with to understand really what are their local problems, how we can use whatever we have in terms of technology in our portfolio to really try to solve their problems. We're working, for example, with the cities of Houston and Miami in America, where they're facing severe flooding problems for different reasons in each city. And we're working with them to actually solve specifically that problem, how we can provide better prevention, better maintenance, and better alerting so that communities have the time to evacuate properly and have the time to react to those events, whether those are natural disasters. And I don't know if you've seen the Itron resiliency and sustainability report, and we're clearly seeing that there's a tremendous growth in the number of natural disasters that are hitting us around the world. If you think about the city of Jakarta, it's been sinking by 3 meters in the past 10 years. It is, again, another city suffering from severe flooding, so much that they've decided to create another capital in Indonesia. These are urban problems that we're seeing due to a combination of course, climate change and massive urbanization. And we really try to engage with cities and communities to help them, each one in a different way, solve the problems that they see because of these issues.
And if we just zoom out for a moment and just move away from talking about the cities and the tech companies that you're working with, I'm curious. Can you tell me a little bit more about the story behind Itron and how the company got where it is today?
Absolutely. Itron started from the metering business and providing meters for electric, gas, and water to utilities in cities around the world. And as you know, it's a great example, actually, when you think about meters over the past decades, how this is a critical piece of the infrastructure of grids and infrastructure for states and countries around the world. And we really created a very unique experience, which is how to build those critical infrastructures in a way that not just is secure, because of course, and I think we're all learning and having more and more awareness around cybersecurity and the importance of it. But on top of that, the importance of having a reliable communications such that we can reach out and connect and control and monitor each one of the assets of a utility in our grid or of a municipality in our infrastructure at every moment in time. And Itron created the whole a set of innovations that took this market from use other words like it was an analog world, and then we had to connect that analog world in order to improve the efficiency of the operations of the utilities. And in the beginning, we connected them using beacons, and then we'll have cars going around the cities to collect the information from those meters. And decades after, we added two-way communications with networks, leveraging mesh infrastructure and cellular infrastructure and other types of connectivity, to a point where today we bring in a meter not just the capability to read the amount of energy consumed by the house or the building, but really we provide a platform of intelligence that can monitor the reliability of the grid and serve as the infrastructure for future needs for monitoring a modern grid. And of course, that same methodology of reaching out to assets and monitoring and controlling them all the time in a very secure and reliable way is very, very useful to many other things outside of the specific metering activities. And that's why we became very, very strong also in the smart streetlights domain, and also in the other grid management domains, such as the demand automation and demand response, and controlling sensors around the grid that allow the utilities to react to issues. And for example, if there is a hurricane and poles are falling, how to turn off the electricity in a way to avoid extreme fires like what we're seeing in California. There's some examples of how technology can be really, really used to improve resiliency and sustainability, and of course, decarbonization.
And it does feel like, you mentioned sustainability there, and with overpopulation and climate change, the world is going to have to start and learn to do more with less. So on that, looking into the future, can you share your mission and about how you're going to or help the world create a more resourceful world? Because that's where we need to be, isn't it?
Absolutely. Niall, it is urgent that we do it at the larger scale, and the technology is here, not only for us at Itron, but the industry is maturing very fast. Cities and governments and municipalities around the world can use technologies. Now, I think one of the challenges that we're seeing is how to make the bridge between the private sector and the high-tech sector and municipalities and cities, and how to make it affordable enough and easy enough for cities to adopt. And this is really where personally, and at Itron, we're spending a lot of time, and it's creativity, not just an innovation, not just on the technology side, but also on the business side, and how to make the business models and the financing and everything around this technology easy enough so that cities can adopt it and not feel too exposed financially and from creating risks for their communities, but rather helping them accelerate the digital transformation in order to become much more resilient and much more sustainable.
Fantastic. And before I let you go, could I ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find out more information about all this great work that you're doing here and how you're using technology, and equally contact a member of your team if they are left with any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Of course, Neil. So first of all, our website is www.itron.com. We also have a blog site that is very interesting that people can reach out and read directly posts from our different teammates at Itron. This is blogs.itron.com. And of course, everybody is welcome to reach out to me as well. And also to follow us on Twitter. And our handler is at Itron Inc.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the blog post that will accompany this episode, just so people can click on those nice and easily. But I love the work that you're doing here. And I'm just reading up on you before you came on today and how you enable utilities and cities to better manage energy and water. We've learned so much about the great work you're doing, but equally there's so much more that we could talk about. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to come on today and share some of those stories. I think it's so valuable, and I'd love to get you back on next year and continue that conversation that we started today. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
Hearing all about smart cities and the Internet of Things and the innovators who participate in challenges like this really does rock my world. I love how they addressed the challenge of noise pollution and traffic for the city of Glasgow by developing these acoustic sensors on lampposts, giving unprecedented visibility to reduce noise pollution and ultimately improve quality of life in the area. And for me, this is proof that we can use technology to make a difference, rather than just sat around complaining about stuff as we endlessly scroll down Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever it is, whichever of your social poison that you choose, whatever your social poison of choice is. So kudos to everyone at Itron and indeed everyone involved in these challenges. Please keep it up. And if you've got any similar stories that you'd like to share, there's an open invitation for you to come on this podcast and share that story. That's why I created this platform. So if you've got any opinions, you want to share your story, you want to come on the podcast, whatever it is, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. My door's always open to each and every one of you. And also a big thank you to AMNYC 2019, who left a review of the podcast over on Apple Podcasts. And they said, listening to this podcast is now a part of my daily routine. The breadth of guests and industry that Neil covers is incredible. I learn something new every time. Thank you for bringing some cool people into our lives, Neil. And a big thank you for listening and taking the time to leave that review, because those reviews make the Apple algorithm smile favourably on us. And when you're browsing through podcasts, it might suggest this show to other people out there and bring more people over. And I do agree with you as well. We do have some incredibly cool people on this podcast. Much cooler than I could ever aspire to be, let me tell you. And on that note, it's time for me to go. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.